This is Happy Monkey.
This is Happy Monkey.
Happy Monkey. Happy Monkey.
This is Happy Monkey.
Available to take your call. Please leave a message after the tone.
God Uncut Art, Mr. Protect Your Heart, over here with the Happy Monkey fam. About to roll something up. Again, I hope everybody rolling up, staying close to their family, staying close to themselves, and doing the do. Get it.
All right, everybody. Today on the Boulevard, man. So, here at Happy Monkey Podcast, we like to shine light on the good folks in the cannabis community. We not just here to bring out the superstar celebrities that everybody, want to look at and shit like that. We like to shine light on the superstars in our community. You know what I mean? In the East Coast, we got this young man who's a very, very, very good entrepreneur, friend of ours out of the DMV area. Wild boy, what I mean? Tatted up. Wild, crazy. He got his own podcast. He got his own everything type of shit when it comes to cannabis, everybody. You want to add on to this introduction, my friend?
Definitely. Ladies and gentlemen, this man right here is the voice of Baltimore, activist, entrepreneur.
Yes, he is.
Voice of the people up in Baltimore, telling you what's going on up there, the good, the bad, and the ugly in the cannabis community. Our brother from another mother, Lord Bongtimore.
Yeah, so please, my brother, introduce yourself.
Oh, man, it's me, your boy, the Sultan of Sativa, the Bobby Fischer of BHO, also known as Rosin Hood, also known as the President of the United Bakes of America, Donald Blunt, also known as Ned Sparks, Willie the Cool Penguin, or Bongtimore. You had to throw it back a little old school.
I don't think nobody had that many different AKAs.
There's actually like 5 or 6 more. It's just those are the ones that I could think of off the top of my head, and sometimes I feel like I'm going a little too far. It's like, all right, we fucking get it, dude. We fucking get it. Shut the fuck up. But no, thank you. It's always so humbling to hear what other people think of you when they introduce you, and I really appreciate the kind words, gentlemen. Thank you.
Come on, my brother. You're doing a lot of work.
Oh, man.
And a lot of people think that this shit is easy and it's just about smoking weed and and having fun type of shit. But there's a lot of work that goes in the backgrounds that people don't understand, right? Especially when you're working for yourself. You got all these responsibilities,
And then you're being definitely solving a big part of the solution in the cannabis industry, which is the lack of information and education. So especially here on the East Coast, there's not too many, platforms where people can go get real reliable information on what's going on in the community, in the culture, and the corporate. And you're doing that for the DMV area and for the East Coast, so we appreciate you.
Oh, yeah. Thank you so much. It definitely can be a wild situation, and while, sure, I do not get it fucked up. I smoke a lot of weed.
Absolutely.
But living the life of an entrepreneur is a stressful life. And I, as a medical patient, and long before we use the term medicine, still use things in a medicinal manner, which doesn't mean anything more than just using the plant in general. But the reality is that I've been doing this for a long time. I've been smoking for a long time. It's always been a part of me to find some of the best weed to put into my lungs and help others to find it as well, while also finding the right information. because we get a lot of dirty shit in cannabis, legal or otherwise, legal or traditional.
Yep.
And, I don't care what people like to smoke. It's just at least make an informed decision.
Make an informed decision.
Everyone knows McDonald's is terrible for you, but they still make the decision to go to McDonald's.
Because they have the information.
Because they have the information. It's just whether or not, at that point the ball's in their court, right? It's the same thing with cannabis.
Yeah.
And that's what we feel. We feel like the biggest issue is the lack of information.
Yeah, the basic one-on-ones and shit, People just need to know the basic one-on-ones, I'd say.
Oh, man. And I agree. And there's a lot of bad information and misinformation, clout chasing happening. See, we're in New York, so I'm excited. I get to talk a little shit. I get to talk some shit.
You can talk all the shit.
You can talk all
That's
the
what
shit.
the Boulevard is all about.
We're in New
You're
York.
the Boulevard, man. You're in
You
New York
know?
on the Boulevard. This is where you can talk all the shit, man. Because, this is where niggas get free, man.
Speak your
Yeah.
truth.
Well, and for me, it's like the industry is like, it just feels so snaky in so many ways, so slimy.
Yeah.
You
It has been. People just think it's like this whole hippie culture going on. Not over here.
Not over here.
It's the
Wall
green
Street.
rush.
Yeah, man.
It's people trying to cut you at any possible angle, set up deals that all work in their favor, where they're hitting every single loophole they possibly can to work their way in. And that's business. It is how it is over here, cutthroat.
Absolutely. I mean, it's just that I wouldn't say as much as cutthroat. It's just like, I'm faster than you, brother. So, you ain't make it. That's not my problem type of shit.
That's such a New York mindset.
That's the New York mindset.
I'm just faster than you, brother. Sorry.
That's all it is.
Snooze, you lose.
You snooze, you lose. And
Especially, and then us being around like all these corporate people, like you think it's just like the culture or whatever. Like, no, they're even worse.
They're the worst.
And they have that same mentality. Like,
But it's because they have
it's
the
not
money.
personal, it's business.
It's 100% business.
But the one factor that everybody kind of like missed out is that, you have all this money and all this shit. Stoners move different, no matter
Way different.
what job you have in life.
And they'll go left
Stoners
quick.
move different. Stoners move different. You know what I mean? You got to remember, a lot of these, let's say the older folks, right? These folks are the hippies. They were the hippies. They just went and got jobs, grew up, had babies and shit, and now they're like grandfathers. But they don't give a fuck. They're stoners.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
You know what I mean? There's a lot of stoners out there, and the culture just runs different. You know what I mean? And we just trying to shine the light on it. And I'm glad you're here, my friend, because you shining the light on this. On that side, we over here on this side.
Hell yeah.
Well, I got a very important question for you because we're on the verge of going through it,
man.
but you are a little ahead of us over there.
Absolutely.
How, we still are like in the Stone Age here. We don't even have flower medical. So we're still,
So what do you
way back
have?
there. We have nothing but basically like oils and concentrates and salves and shit like that.
Yeah.
Like
Basically
topical shit.
nothing.
I don't know.
So-
I'm a medical patient. I haven't even walked into a dispensary.
So
I mean,
what-
I've heard
They don't got
some
nothing for me.
things.
So that's why I asked you that, you guys are so much more advanced. Even though you're not rec, your medical's way more advanced than ours, correct?
Right, yeah,
So I want to know, how was that? When did that happen? And give us an idea so we can see what we're in store for here.
Did
So,
you see a difference, though? When,
a difference how? Between New York and Maryland, or?
in Maryland in general, like when it went medical and you see,
Oh,
they
I
had
mean-
some fire flowers and shit like that.
Well, so they went medical. Like, you were a medical state, I think it was like 2014. But we've only had active dispensaries open the last 2 years.
Okay.
So before that, what patients were having to do was go down to D.C. and get shit out of a D.C. dispensary. D.C.'s practiced reciprocity the whole time they've been, medical and recreational. So you just get your shit there and bring it back with you wherever. Now, there was a lot of things that they were supposed to do that were in the original blueprints for the commission and how certain things were going to run. And then they actually started giving out licenses and realized that, oh, fuck, there's a lot of other things that we didn't account for. There's a lot of growing pains that need to be gone through in order for us to get And like honestly, it's kind of fucked up still now. I mean, State Delegate Glenn, who was big in ex-Delegate Glenn, had a federal indictment come down because she was taking bribes and helping people get licenses.
Oh man.
I mean, there's a lot, and it's corporate money trying to.
But what would you say, Bongtimore, that was like the biggest, like when it turned on 2 years ago, like you said, as far as like dispensaries being available, like the transition? How was it over there?
it was cool. There was a lot of. I can tell you, I let myself get custied in the beginning.
They cussed you at the beginning?
Oh yes.
You let them hit you with the song and dash, let them finesse you?
I definitely got finessed.
Okay.
I got
It happens to the best of them.
It happens to the best, and ain't no shame in my game. I'm willing to be honest and share my experiences, right, so that others don't have to go through the same ones.
Boom. There you
you
go.
know? And early on, it just was like, there was a lot of excitement, right, from the older community. You already brought it up, right? Some of the older crowd.
Mm-hmm.
They're a big part of our community.
Yes.
But they're also, I mean, boomers are boomers everywhere. So they're very, my buddy calls it boom splaining, and they definitely love to do that with weed, and it's hilarious. But it took some time for there to start being a quality flower in Maryland, right? A quality product. It was like just batches early on were just rushed to market.
Did they have any issues like keeping up with supply at the beginning, which most states do?
Yeah, there was the shortage issues didn't really start happening until this past summer. Right, there was a big shortage this past summer, but there wasn't. I mean, there really flower's the number one category of product in the Maryland market. Right, it's like flower, vape carts, concentrates, I think. But if you asked me as a guy that smokes and is open-minded, and is looking for some good weed, right? Like, I want to support the program. I've been a patient for over 2 years since we've had dispensaries. Like, for me, the biggest part of that is the layer of protection that it gives, right? Like, every time I get pulled over, I'm on the side of the road. You know what I mean? They love to pull me out of my car. The med card helps with that. You show most of them. You can show your documentation, show them your papers, right, and they'll lay off.
They'll fall back.
Yeah. Now, even that though, right? That's a big thing. Is because, do you think they're spending any money training cops on how to properly interact with a medical patient?
I don't think so.
I mean, in New York, right, one of the biggest things that there's a problem, like, stopping somebody for weed is a great way to start digging on them and figure out.
Oh, that is a good
right?
probable cause that usually
I
has.
smell weed. You know what I mean? Like, that's cool. What you're saying is cool, but I smell weed. Get on the
There
fucking
you
ground
go.
real quick.
Yep.
And I mean, stop and frisk, that was a real thing. And how much of that, how many people got locked up time for small amounts of cannabis as a result of a stop and frisk, or even just not even necessarily that, just any bullshit getting stopped from a cop, right? I can tell you my experience in Maryland. They spend $0 from city PD to county PD to state troopers, right? They don't spend any time on that, right? And even when they do, it's an hour, 2 hours, right? And it's in one ear and out the other, right? They don't give a fuck, right? People that are getting arrested for cannabis in Maryland are the same people that have been getting arrested.
Usually the communities of color and the lower class communities usually get targeted.
Yeah, well, absolutely, and it's hilarious. In Baltimore, the Baltimore courthouse, Towson, is literally right across from a corporate-owned dispensary. So while Cindy Lou is coming out with her vape cart
hypocrisy of the democracy
and her dried
that's
out
what we
mids,
like to
while
say.
Tyrone and
That's
Hector are
hilarious.
coming out off a possession charge,
That's hilarious. That's crazy.
right? And they won't even, and they don't tell you when you're on probation that you can get your med card and smoke and be good to go, right? Like, they don't make that a priority.
No, that would mess up the
It's the
whole
economics,
rotation.
man. I mean, you start diving down a rabbit hole with that one. But Maryland's biggest thing is that, like, when there's no transparency and, like, when there's people that are being honest with the community and, like, hey, this is what's really going on here, right? Stop just accepting whatever they kick down to you, because the patients have the control, right? So if there's one thing that I could really stress is that as patients in New York and moving towards more regulation, right? Like more, a better, broader range of dispensaries, right? Studies are showing that for chronic pain, which is one of the top, I don't know, I'm not fact checking, but I'd imagine is one of the number one of the top reasons why people get a med card. The most effective way to treat chronic pain is by ingesting actual flour, right? It's not concentrates. It's not, an edible, right? For chronic pain, it's smoking the actual flour, right? So you're telling me in New York City, where there's probably a high concentration of people who walk their whole lives on these concrete streets with bad backs and knees, living a hard life, they can't even get access to the medicine they need?
No access.
How about these apples, Mr. Bongtimore?
How about these big apples?
Over 10 million people in New York State, and there are 100,000 med patients.
Yeah,
Think about how easy they are, how they're making it, like you said, how easy they're making the information and the situation for the community.
Yeah, they
Definitely not.
It's like it just feels like, people are willing to accept what they kick down to us, and to me that's a bigger problem, that isn't just cannabis, but cannabis imitates life. And we have to know when to say, hey, we don't want this. Yeah. We need this.
Right.
And just like when we want any sort of change, we have to use our voice. But most people are too lazy. They just want to get on Facebook and bitch about it.
Yeah.
Keyboard warriors, right?
Keyboard warriors?
And the problem is, right, because I'm a guy that some people would say perpetuates stereotypes when it comes to cannabis, right? I can definitely be very in your face about it, very obnoxious about it. My beliefs are very open-minded about it. Even in my home, and we live this shit, bro. Like, I've lived with somebody that pretty much despises the fact that I am this way, and I have kids with her. And I don't want to speak down on her in any manner, because that's not what this is. But the reality is that I fight a battle at home every day.
So don't tell me,
right?
So
Starting from the house. Right, and so we live this shit, so I can show my kids a better way, and they don't have to live in this fucking reefer madness train of thought that people still have.
How do you feel, Mr. Bongtimore, that the dispensaries opening has affected the traditional market?
They pay at least in Maryland, they pay respect to the traditional market. Prices in Maryland are. It's retail all the way up, no breaks. And, the prices versus the value is not there always. But you look at, say, a good example, brand Culta just released, they're growing cookies genetics now. Right? So
I heard that cookies dropped over there.
Yeah, and Big Burn came out, Powers Up came, the guy that breeds those genetics came out. It was a dope fucking event. 300 people were there in line. Sick, right? It was a very
shout out
culture.
to Burner and Cookies, man.
Yeah,
they doing a good job, bro. Yeah. They all over, bro.
We're really supportive of them, because at least they're from the culture.
At least they're from and a lot of people hate on Big Burn,
but he's from the culture.
Yeah.
So you're gonna hate on him and promote the person that doesn't smoke cannabis and doesn't even know anything about it, that's buying their way in the game?
Yeah. Oh my God, you guys we're on the. This is why we're here sitting together, because I say that exact same shit. Like, you would rather support Ted the fucking attorney, right? Or fucking Linda the real estate agent, than Big Burn, who goes out of his way to try new stuff. You can watch.
Got it out the mud, just like us.
He's in the forefront. Let's keep it 1,000.
And keeping the culture alive and well on the corporate level.
Yeah.
Which is not easy to do.
I mean, turn down $850 million for his brand. I mean, what does that say?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Right?
I just heard that.
So what happens here in Maryland, down in Maryland, is they pay a royalty essentially on every fucking gram sold. Nickelback's on the park. Burn needs his cut.
Right.
Right. Like, that's just how it is. And in exchange, You know, people are only paying a couple dollars more, but compared to the street price for that shit,
Right.
you're getting a discount. Shit, even compared to the Cali Inn store price, right? At 65 and 8th in Maryland versus 77.
That's not bad.
Out the
not
door
bad.
for a
Yeah.
patient.
65 out the dispensary.
Out of the dispensary.
That's
good.
pretty
Now
fair.
you gotta
That is
wait in
fair.
line, but it's
It's okay.
That's like a
though.
sneaker release, right? I always
Yeah.
compare it to a sneaker release. Yo, if you know.
Yeah. I think that's
The only
fair.
people complaining are the people that fucking don't want to go sit in line, you know,
Oh, yeah.
or don't have money for it.
As we know that, everything can't be perfect, you know what I mean? But as long as the pros outweigh the cons, we can live with it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, but we as people justify all sorts of things. So, how do we? My thing is that, see, Maryland's cool because Maryland is a state that a lot of other states are looking to kind of steal some of the outlines, steal some of the signs.
Yeah.
Right? And you can see places that are doing it and are just, they're not understanding some of the things that we're going through and are like trying to copy some shit that's fucked up. And so that's double fucked up on their end. I see a lot of people talking about Oklahoma, right? And it's great. There's a lot of licenses open, but like, if you see what some of the stuff that's happening in Oklahoma, I don't think any human should be ingesting some of this stuff. Right, like testing is a big thing, and that you see.
So I was gonna ask you, how do you think the quality after the dispensary opened and now they're tested? How did you think that helped the community, or did it not help the community?
I mean, it's a double-sided coin or double-edged sword, maybe, because while it's being tested, there's accusations of some of these companies being able to be bought.
Yes,
Test
I've
results.
heard that before too.
So it's like, stuff is passing testing and getting to market, but isn't truly what it is, ranging from THC, inflated numbers, right? Like, there's all sorts of tricks and little things you can do to kind of...
I've heard of these things.
So, it's kind of hard, and it's difficult to say these labs are independent when the holdings company that owns the whole company also has pieces in their portfolio of, other multi-state cannabis companies. So they own pieces of testing companies and cannabis companies, which is totally illegal to like...
Talking about conflict of interest?
Yes. So if it's basically like just literally a micro version of what we need to do as humanity, and like say as a big group, we're not going to stand for this shit. This is how we want it done, right? You're supposed to be our voice. Be our voice.
Exactly.
Right.
Take these instructions.
Yes.
You know what I
Right.
mean?
Like, and then we need to say, oh shit, we did all this together, right? Because cannabis is everybody. I don't know. Everyone in this room has a different background, and it's a totally different human. But yeah, we're all here.
We
sharing
are
bonds.
all part of the same cannabis religion.
Right.
There you go.
Yes.
There you
So
go.
I just want to know, can we get a 501c3 tax exempt status nonprofit for like a church religion thing going? They don't want that's some they get you like JFK type shit.
That's a dangerous water to
only
tread.
Christianity.
So I wanted to ask you, speaking about the whole together thing and the voices and everything, how would you say the activism community is up there, and what does it consist of, and
my God.
what role are you playing in that?
Oh my God! Honestly, look, I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna keep it all the way fucking 100 because I don't know how else to do it.
You gotta keep it 1,000.
but
That's
you
why
already
you
know
Lord
stacked
Baltimore.
all day, right?
Yeah, let's do it.
Honestly, I've fallen back a lot, right? What I see a lot of people that are well intentioned, right? I see some egos about some weird shit. Like, people have weird egos in the cannabis world, right? And some people say I have an ego, and it's not like that, right? It's just I can't associate with some of these people because they're not focusing and prioritizing what makes sense, right? They don't understand that, like, through legislation, these people are not even sold that cannabis is medicine. So you have people out there who are literally perpetuating stereotypes. Like they're like, these people are freaks. Whoa, they're out there with signs. Like they're fucking, I don't understand these tie-dye shirts, whatever. And so it's hard for the voice to even be heard, you know, and it can get, shit can get lost in the sauce, right? So then it leaves corporate lawyers and people that lobby the ability to use their language and say, hey, this is the way that it should be. This is what we need, right?
And word it really nicely and package it really nicely.
Yeah, right? And the people that, nobody wants to listen to the lawyer ladies that are like, you know, and men who are like, hey, no, this is what we should focus on. This is how we should organize. And I'm like, no, get out of here. And then we're doing this.
And also, we ran into that a little bit over here, that I feel like sometimes activists' heart are in the right place, but practically and logically, what they wish for is not realistic. And just like anything else, you're never going to get 100% of really what you really need. No. So as long as you get a large percentage of it, you got to, you know, like I said, as long as the pros outweigh the cons, you kind of like straddle the fence. You can't come up with this perfect world and expect it to go through, because you end up with nothing, and then your voice, people start ignoring you, and you don't even become relevant anymore.
We talk about this shit all the time. People got to understand is that we're introducing a business to the government. You're not introducing like a law, some religion or whatever we're talking about. We're introducing a business.
Yeah,
you understand. So if the business part isn't cleared, you know, nobody gonna move forward.
It's always about money. I mean, look at the tax money that that Cali, they were trying to get, shoot for like $1 billion, and they were short. Like by September, it was like they were at like 300 or 400 million. It was like way less. The black market was thriving. They used the tax dollars from legal cannabis to then start all sorts of task force that were flying drones and helicopters over illegal grows, chopping down 1 million plants. Mm-hmm. You know, I mean, and it's crazy. See, Maryland, I don't know how these dispensaries and shit aren't kind of fail-safe in some ways, but, like, there's a lot of them right now that are, like, dude, they're running off on the plug, not paying vendors, robbing Peter to pay Paul, right? Like, it's wild.
It gets funky in the corporate cannabis world, too.
It's... Two Stack Zach is running off on the plug every time, bro. You know, and then they're like, oh shit, hey, do you want to buy this license? We want 10 times more than what we had paid to fucking get it running. And then you end up buying this shitty company, or like it gets sold to a corporate company that's like, yeah, we don't care, we'll just put our system in place, and you know, and it's just you lose all of the soul of what cannabis could be with some of the small businesses. And we say small, right? But there's always some backing and some investors and whatever, right? It's kind of the name of the game. But like you said, right, I'd rather support people that are involved in the culture and want to be involved in the culture and helping. For me, social equity is a big thing, right? Like what type of, how are you giving back, right? If the problem is that there's 10 dispensaries in Baltimore city limits, right? And I think there's a grow in the city limits as well. And with all of these people, none of the dispensaries are in the parts of town that are affected by cannabis
war on
arrest.
drugs.
You know, I mean, come on, they're not putting a dispensary on North Ave. Not yet. In another 10 years, that's going to be the hot spot. But
that's crazy. But 10 in another 10.
I just see too much work being done over there for it to, you know, down at the ends is where it'll start really happening, and then it'll just start working its way up. But it's hard to believe that, even, because North Ave is, if somebody said, take me to the worst part of the city, I'm dropping them at like North in Greenmount or North in Pennsylvania, somewhere that intersects with North Ave, honestly. Just, you want to be on the east side or the west side, which, take your pick, because they're really didn't
walk around randomly.
But, so like we have to think, how are these companies who are literally raking in cash hand over fist with, like, I know the margins they make. And now, granted, I know what they pay for a fucking pound. But like, you learn what their margins are. But you know, if you hear somebody tell you, oh yeah, well, we have 200, 300 patients a day, you can start doing the math. Well, average transactions probably no less than $100, right? you're talking about 20 bands a day, 30 bands a day, and just keep. That's not even a Saturday. That's a Tuesday.
On average.
And now, granted, the low end ones, right? Some of the ones that are owned by small companies, they're not doing good. They struggle, and because of that, they have the low end product. And then so patients who shop primarily, first and foremost, based on geographic location. Where is this in relation to my house? How close is this? Right, because you're obviously going to go somewhere that's closer to you, probably more frequently.
The most convenient.
I mean, and then price point, followed closely by price point. It's like, I'm traveling to this spot because they have a deal going on that I like. And for me, it's if somebody's willing to give me a little bit of a discount or something, because I can't pay full price every day. Mm-hmm. I smoke too much for that shit.
That's why, Bongtimore, we feel here, that's part of the whole premise of this podcast, that the biggest issue in the industry is the separation between culture and corporate, how they're both so isolated away from each other. And that's why we try to have people from the culture and people from the corporate here so they can learn about each other, because until they don't start working together, the industry is not going to be fully optimal anywhere.
You're absolutely right. It makes me think of literally like a Back to the Future cheesy 1950s school dance, and it's like you have corporate on this side and like all the culture dudes are over on this side, like kind of looking down at the ground, kicking around, like too shy to go dance together, right? And it's like we're just waiting, like somebody needs to like sneak over and spike the corporate side's punch.
Yeah.
And then, and get them
going.
and let's get it going, right?
Get it going.
And then turn it to a funky party.
And that's what part of what we've been doing here,
Yeah.
because we have everybody here from like the founder of Black Lives Matter in New York to like the CEO of the Canadian Securities
Do
Exchange.
your last Prisoner Project dinner.
So what I'm trying to say is that that's the only way, you bridge because everybody kind of has the same goal. Everybody's kind of signed on the same time, but they just don't understand each other. And you got to get them in the same room to start dancing and start talking and seeing that they can work together and everything, and they both need each other.
And absolutely, I understand that, and it's just hard because my biggest problem is that they don't want to pay me. And that can, my experience and value.
They're trying to
big
finesse you,
problem.
Mr. Bongtimore?
Oh man!
Just because we coach you.
They want to hit you with the song and dance?
Hey, just throw it up on the Instagram. Hey, you could promote that. You tag us in that, right?
Right.
I'm like, motherfucker, send me some money. This is my Cash App. I'm coming through. I'll give you a contract. Let's work. Right? If you need my help, right? Because if 10% of my following comes through and gets a medical card and spends the average in the state, which is only going up, right, at $4,500 or something last year, a year per patient, right? If 600 people spending, say, $4,000, you do the math.
And you know why they should really consider it? Because according to the numbers, whatever strategy they're using is not working, because 70 to 80% of all cannabis stocks, especially the biggest ones, are down.
Well, I think my take on that is because every state has a different regulation. Everywhere is different. And in every state you have these companies with some SOPs, right? Some standard operating procedures, but they also have different flexibility in what they can get away with. So everywhere is different. It's hard to find there's a few companies that have some uniformity, but a lot of it is rapid growth, too quick, right? Expanding too quickly. Going into states like in Florida, if you have the license, you can open as many dispensaries as you want. Companies are already popping up 10 of them and don't even have enough supply for the dispensaries. But they're just trying to get it and have the real estate, have the license, so that when there's a federal legalization, they can get bought out by a bigger company, and they already have everywhere. And then all that needs to be done is just a tightening up of the full system, and boom, you're good to go. But in the meantime, we suffer with what we suffer with.
Through the transition.
But that's why I told you, it's about damage control. I feel like it is the Barnum and Bailey circus, and nobody has it figured out, and it's obvious it's gonna take some time to get it all figured out. But in the meantime, at least let's get some damage control and start talking to the people that have been doing this for a long time. because they both need each other, because they
You're right.
need the culture and the experience. The culture and experience needs their big money and their big resources, so they both need each other, whether they believe it or not. They just gotta find a happy medium and start communication lines and start finding ways to add value to each other. And
Providing value is key.
Unless,
Yeah,
and if
'cause-
they don't, they're both gonna keep on losing, unfortunately.
It's real easy. They want to involve community and social equity and all that shit. The shit is real easy. Just give back to the traditional market. Most of the traditional market already live, and it's already a part of these neighborhoods that you guys already attacked. And they give back. It's very easy. It's very easy. Very simple shit.
Well, I think that it is easy, and we try to make things more complicated than they have to be. But in Maryland, there's a lot of like weird regulation about how you advertise, right? Because again, we're a medical market, and they don't think about how pharmaceuticals account for 40% of all advertising dollars in the world. So medical industry clearly has a grasp on what they're doing with marketing. I mean, like they'll try and be selling you an antidepressant that one of the side effects is like may cause suicide. You're like, that's what I'm trying to avoid, motherfucker.
Yeah.
Like so,
And that's just one of the side
so
effects.
that's been a problem for me, is that people are scared to embrace me as somebody for their brand because they don't want to get snitched on by another company owner, or like be like he's too wild, or like they're not even allowed to use the right cookies bags, right? They have to use just the plain blue nondescript C because after the first release, another company called and said, and I heard some story that sounded like a bullshit anecdote.
Through the grapevine?
Yeah.
At the barbershop?
Yo, man. It goes down at the barbershop. We're in New York. Everybody here knows it goes down at the barbershop. So it just, like, shit was fucked up, man.
Listen, Lord Bongtimore, we've praised you and told the people, but the ladies and gentlemen out there in Happy Monkey World need to understand the beginning of Lord Bongtimore's journey. So we need to ask you what we ask all our guests. Walk us through the first time you smoked cannabis, and how was that like, and what was
First
the
time
atmosphere?
Oh, man.
First time you got high.
Man.
You got to take them down memory lane. They need to know your journey.
Yeah, tell me the music. Tell me what type of joint was it. Was
Oh,
it a
man.
blunt?
So-
Talk to me.
I'll tell you,
What
it
type of
feels like
weed?
it was yesterday.
Sounds like a love story.
Oh,
Sounds
it
like-
was. And now, granted, look, I'm going to tell you straight up, the guys I was smoking with, I really didn't like them. I thought they were douchebags. But I'm eternally grateful for them because they opened my eyes. And as a young man, I was ready. I was ready to receive it as it came to me, which was, I was 13. We were in rotation behind a giant food store in a spot that was called the Triangle. Not sure why it wasn't triangular. We were smoking out of an apple.
Out of an apple.
Out of an apple with a piece of foil on the top.
red apple?
No, it was a green apple. It was a large.
You're a crafty young man.
Yeah, well, I didn't make it. They made it. This was my first time. I was a noob. I was like,
just showed up.
had the hole in the side, right? They were like, we're going to smoke weed. I was like, all right, I'm coming. And so, and the weather, it was a nice like fall afternoon, a little chilly, brisk might be the term I would use to describe the weather. And we smoked some mids-ass shit.
Some backyard boogie?
It was probably, I think it was some Kind Bud, if you remember.
Kind bug was high class. compared to what we smoked about.
yeah. It was some no stems and seeds. It was
Oh, so
some
that
little
was
orange
good.
hairs, reddish orange hairs.
You started good.
Yeah, man.
These were suburban white kids. What do you mean? Of course. So they were spending $30 a gram, and we smoked, and I hit it a few times, and I remember like not feeling high. I'm like, this is fun. They were all like goofy as shit, and I'm like, do I act goofy, or
Right,
like
right.
I don't
What is
really feel this. I'm like, all right, I'll see y'all later. Hopped on my skateboard, and I was crossing the street. I was like, I think I should get some Taco Bell. And I was like crossing Route 450.
Munchies hit.
Oh, and just like literally I'm halfway across this busy road and just looking both ways, and I'm like, oh, fuck. that's when it hit. And I swear to God, a cheesy gordita crunch had never tasted so good. That Baja sauce was dripping, cheesy, gooey goodness. And I literally just sat in that Taco Bell for probably a good hour, just like reflecting on life as a 13-year-old man that was lying to his parents about where he was and what he was doing. And what was my future. And I will tell you, my future was literally from that day forward, every morning before I meet up with everybody, we'd be skateboarding anyway. And then we'd go to the little creek right next to the school, and we would fucking blaze. Sometimes the J's were in papers. Sometimes they were in pieces of like loose leaf paper. It was fucked up.
Whatever you could find.
Yeah, it was anything. But, early on, that shit opened my eyes. That shit helped me, and I felt fucking like I could live and breathe.
But that and after that, you became a frequent flyer, getting high all the time.
Oh, it was pretty much every day. I can't really. There was a time when, like a year later, I stopped for like a little minute.
But what years was this?
I was like 13, 14, like just going into high school. A lot of my friends were a couple years older than me. So they were all like just getting into experimenting with stuff, and
This all in Maryland and Baltimore.
Yeah, this is it was actually in the little right outside DC. Is where I grew up.
Right outside DC.
Yeah.
13, 14 years
13,
old.
14, a little rebellious, angry, young kid, like mom don't go through my room type shit. And I can laugh about it now. It's fucking, smoking cigarettes, right? Like I said, I have friends that were older than me, so it was like trying to, they were experimenting. I wanted to keep up, right? I was good on a skateboard. I was willing to punch people, right? Like, I fought for my spot. And, I started a band right around that time, too, with a couple guys I was in school with. It's mad angry. We were called Kill Whitey.
Kill Whitey.
Kill Whitey.
Oh, man.
I have a little tattoo. It's a KW behind my ear for Kill Whitey. We were
you got issues.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's why I still smoke so much cannabis, right? I've been in psych wards and stuff before, right? Like, I live this shit. Like, we fight for the plant. We fight for our freedom.
I got another one for you.
Please.
Tell me about your craziest adventure to go purchase some cannabis. We all have been on an adventure to get some cannabis.
I don't know about the statute of limitations on some of this stuff.
But I just mean like for you to smoke. Like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. I mean, so I think easily back to when I was doing dope, because that was how I made my living. That's how I supported myself, was selling dope at a higher profit. Plus, I always had the best weed. It was some $500 an ounce type weed, $400 an ounce back in the day.
That must have been some good shit. Back then, that was the numbers
and
for the good shit.
like
you had and
1989.
literally
And you
like
had to know somebody to get it.
you had you had to know the Jamaican, and the Rasta is who you had to go to. And
we talk about this here all the time. It was the same thing here in New York. The 90s, the Rastas was
We always say
king.
that the Jamaicans were like one of the first cannabis entrepreneurs in the game.
oh yeah, and it's crazy because what they have there or what they try to give tourists there. It's like, come on, dude. We know there's some good weed on this island. Where's it at? In Jamaica, it's the hash. That's what you want, the finger hash.
They got fire though. I don't know. Last time I went to Jamaica, man, they bought me some fire.
Yeah, I think somebody accidentally put some in my bag before I went down there, and I just happened to have some very, very nice weed to be able to enjoy on the beach. There's nothing like smoking in Jamaica.
Yeah, it's nothing.
Literally wherever you want, people don't care. It's just accepted. You're on the beach at sunset, breathing to the water, just gently splashing at your feet. It's fucking A1. It's a great fucking place to be.
You didn't finish telling me about your first adventure to go get cop some weed, my brother.
So I was with a guy whose name was Dio.
Okay.
He is no longer here. Rest in peace, but he's the first man that I ever saw blast home shatter in the basement, almost blew up his whole house.
Oh, Lord.
But, I was trying to go with him. I was a young entrepreneur at that point, and that was the first time I got to ride along to meet the plug, right? And so back in those days, it was very difficult to get good weed.
Yes.
And the penalties and price to pay for having good weed was high. And you know, and it wasn't like now, like if my car smells like weed, I'm arguing with the cop about it. You know what I mean? Back then, there was no arguing with the cop about it.
Arguing.
Right? And so we were on our way down to D.C. to go see the Rasta, and we got pulled over in D.C., and you already know we were smoking. Right? So everybody gets pulled out of the car, and we're not even there, but there's 2 ounces in the car. My man ends up giving himself up and taking the 2 ounces.
Taking the rap.
Yeah, it's his shit. He did what he's supposed to do.
Stand-up guy.
Yes, right. Something, remember, these values are not always instilled in people these days.
No.
So they let us just keep going, right? They let us keep the car. They're like, all right, cool. That's his shit, whatever. Here's his keys. That way you don't tow his car. I mean, my man had his license. So we end up going. My other guy has been there before, so he knew what it was. I'm like losing my shit because I'm like 15, and you know, if I get caught up in DC, you know, in a less than reputable neighborhood, my parents are killing me type shit. And because, like, you know, I had to lie. And so we get there, and that's the first, like, I'm white. So the Rasta didn't trust me immediately.
Yeah. He's like, hold on.
I mean, it's just his.
The mood changed, the vibe.
You know, and so, like,
Oh man.
I don't think it would have been that way had I not been there, right? So, like, I'm antsy. There's just, you know, I'm a little bit younger.
And now you're making him even more antsy because
Yeah.
he's already antsy.
Yeah, and like we're
boy.
talking about like a, you know, like a 30. He could have been anywhere from 25 to 50. I don't know. You know, Jamaican student.
He was definitely a lot older than you.
But he was a lot older than me, and that was the first time I'd seen anybody like accidentally flash a gun. Like the way you reached, you know, that like the shirt pulled up a little bit, you
Like,
could
don't
see
get
it.
any ideas. Like, it was just like a flash.
And like, I never have in my life tried to be that guy that's like, well, what if I did this?
Right.
But that just was a whole nother level for me, and I was like extremely uncomfortable at that point. I was like, hey, you know, I'm gonna go smoke a cigarette. I'll be outside. And so like, I didn't get to be a part of the sesh. I didn't fucking like. I was shook. And after that, you know, I went one more time, and the dude had a totally different vibe. Right.
He passed the first test.
Yeah, and it just was like, you know, but I had to kind of learn about that shit, right? That's how you fucking learn, is going through it.
Experience.
And that's the kind of shit that corporate cannabis doesn't have. Oh, no. Right? So, like, and I get, for most people, that's extreme.
Yeah,
right? That's not most people's experience, right?
No.
It's like they, like, had to steal.
But what you can do is you can use the people that have had these experiences in the traditional market to help you understand how you can implement certain things to the new corporate market to be more attractive to all kind of consumers, all kind of communities.
I mean, every industry is really about hustling. It's all the same stuff. You just have to speak their language.
That's it.
You know, the United States is a corporation. It loves other corporations. If you're Joe Schmo trying to not pay your cut, I mean, I'll find it. It's
Do
on
what you want, as long as you take care of Uncle Sam.
Yeah.
If you don't take care of him, you're going to have a problem.
straight up. You know,
We here though, you know. We speak all the languages.
absolutely. I love it, and that's why I'm so super grateful to have HappyMunkey have been a part of my family through my whole journey these last couple years.
Thank you, my friend. Thank you. We appreciate you, my brother.
You know, and it's like one of those things that, like,
Damn.
if you know, you know, and if you weren't there, you may have missed out.
That's it.
But on to bigger and better things,
Yes, sir.
always.
So tell us a little bit about your podcast and what it consists of, which, you know, HappyMunkey will be stopping by soon and
We going
coming to
DMV.
DMV
Absolutely,
soon.
absolutely. And Vlad is so personable. He made sure to let me know that they were invited to my podcast. So your podcast, oh, Happy Monkey, we're going. When are we doing that? And his grip got a little tighter on my hand. I'm like, bro, when you guys come down to DC, you guys are supposed to let me know the date when you come down. Put it back on him. That's how you gotta do it. And but yeah, so I have a podcast. It's called Let's Talk About It, available wherever you like to listen to them, the big ones, Stitcher, Apple, Google, Spotify. According to the analytics, Spotify and Apple are where people are listening to my shit. But I'm there. I'm talking shit.
What is the concept and
So
the
the
premise
concept,
behind it?
so as you guys, we've talked about this whole time, trying to keep people informed, trying to bring on people who are relevant, trying to bring people who aren't always in some sort of spotlight. And bring awareness to some of the cool things that people are doing, and some people who have really been putting in some work that may not get recognized, but also calling corporate cannabis out on its bullshit, right? And sometimes that can be in a constructive way, and sometimes that can be in a not so like in an aggressive way, we'll say. And it just is what it is. A lot of these some companies have me blocked, but
That's good.
It's
though.
a feeling, and they'll get over it, Lord Bongtimore.
It's a feeling, and they'll get over. Feelings are not facts, bro. Take your emotions out of it. And somebody asked me, you know what? They said and they put me on the spot too. They're like, if Forward Grow, we'll just say, because they're my least favorite one, and they did some of the slimiest shit in the industry, and they were the first. They were the sacrificial lamb, right? I said, Forward Grow offered you $200,000 a year for like a head of marketing. You're telling me you wouldn't take it? And I said, there would be terms.
There would be terms.
Because I can, as somebody, my thing is that I have the people that fuck with me, the people that follow my Instagram, the people that reach out to me that fucking I'm out there communicating with, right? It's about trust. It's about being honest with people.
Speaking your truth.
And not just mine, but what it is.
The people and what it is. That isn't always easy, right? Because you have people that want to just buy into it. The industry employee is kind of brainwashed and like, it's cool we work with weed, so like we're gonna fucking defend this shit till the day we die, right? Like they feel it, like, oh, our company wouldn't do that. Right? It's like, but they don't know there's no ethics in business. So exactly.
But we I guess really. My podcast is about me sharing everything that I can, that I know, my experience, strength, hope, and try to get other people to use their voice, right? Because if other people aren't then opening up a dialogue and creating connections and networking, I mean, without this, how would I know you guys?
Right.
That is correct.
Like when I met Dave, I would have never thought.
Shout out to the COO David and
Shout out
the
Dave.
girls for the girls on deck as
Girls
always.
for the girls on
Shout out to
deck.
David, 2020.
King of the Canna Gather.
King of the Canna Gather.
And I would have never known that this. I mean, I just remember going in the first time I went to the Monkey. He's like, oh, you should check out my family. You're up in New York? Cool. Check this out. Go here. We went into like the building next door. There's like where they're hiding street carts, and I was like, is this like where there's an elevator? And then like I'm like, oh shit. Figured out where it was. We get up there, opened like the 5th floor. It was like, oh, I don't think we're supposed to be here. Got buzzed up, and it just was like, oh my fucking God.
Nirvana?
Like, this is fucking heaven, right? Like, and back then, that was early days, so it was a little like kind of everything goes as far as like, whatever. And we were just smoking, getting rowdy, and it was great to watch you guys grow and watch you evolve and be a part of the process. And, I know personally you guys have shown love to me and many people associated with me, and that means a lot, right? It's about, like, that's some real human shit. Like
Your
some
vibe
people shit.
attracts your tribe.
Fuck yeah.
And
Fuck
we are
yeah.
all on the high tide raises all the boats, right? And we are all on the same tide, just different boats. So why wouldn't we raise it for everybody?
Man, I love it. And the humility that you guys all exude and have from the beginning, like I said, Happy Monkey has been one of the flyest things I've ever gotten to be a part of in my life. Like,
You want to make us blush over here? Come on, don't do that, man.
I'm just saying, for me, the type of things that I like to do, right, that was my spot. And, like, that's like some movie shit.
It's a movie.
You know, and it really is just like a piece of time and history that if you weren't a part of, unfortunately, you're going to have to catch the new wave. That's it.
Exactly.
You know, but
now you're setting me up now for our question that we ask every guest, Lord Bongtimore, and I'm really interested in knowing yours. We call it the $1 million question.
$1 million
the $1 million question.
$1 million question is, if you had to describe HappyMunkey in one word, what would that word be and why?
Yeah.
Everything you know about it, the brand, the movement, the place, all encompassing in one word, Mr. Lord Bongtimore.
You know, I feel like this word gets used loosely, and I don't think people have a true understanding of what a community is, right? And how the constructs of modern society really actually prevent a lot of communities by design. You know, between you factor in the independence that we have of being on a cell phone, right? I mean, Uber, order food, whatever you need to do, you can do it on your phone, and you don't need to it's not like, you know, fucking hundreds of years ago where you had to go to your neighbor for this, right? Like the guy across the street does, you know, swordsmithing. You got to trade him your barber services and some of your food crop for this, right? And it's like HappyMunkey is a community. Or
Nobody's really used that either.
And the reason why I say that is because I think I know based on, I've built relationships with people that I've met at the Monkey, right? Like there's a lot of people that I still interact with on, you know, on social media and wherever and through text or call or visit them in their city or while I'm here if they're here, right? Like it's the same reaction from everybody. When you talk about the Monkey, there's you just fucking know, because what it was really about patient access. What it really was about breaking down barriers. And while we may not be able to be all the way in the light, the people who are supposed to be here are going to be here, right? Like the movement is going to be the way that it needs to be collectively, right? And I say this also because I was actually getting ready to say it. The time that I've known you, right, over the last couple of years, every time I see you, every single time, you ask for my opinion about how the Monkey is, what I think is good, what opportunities are there for improvement, what did I like about it, right? What you guys have going on, and I'm assuming that you do that with countless other people.
That is correct.
Right?
That is
I've
correct.
seen you guys.
We like to know the outside
and I like to think of myself as a semi-frequent flyer at the Monkey, and have gotten to see many stages of growth. And I've seen a lot of people there multiple times, right? I've seen you guys out on the floor, right? I mean, Flag cleans up in a suit out there, you know, because he looks like he's ready to ink $1 million deal at any minute, you know, and he's protecting his investment and finding out ways to improve it, right? Like you guys cared about the people that patronize. It is about community, not just about business. I mean, economics are what they are, and you have to be able to function and continue to grow. So aside from that, you have a community.
Thank you for those kind words, Mr. Bongtimore, man.
Absolutely, yo. So can we give my brother LB one more round of applause, everybody?
Thank you so much for having me
here with us on the Boulevard.
And an honor and a pleasure to have DMV royalty here.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, man, I like this, man. We went at all angles, man. We went corporate, we went a little bit of hood there, you know, and it was dope. It was dope. I like it, man. What you think about it, my nigga Ralph?
Yeah, his mouth looks like he literally just zipped it.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, thank you for always believing in us and for coming over here to drop so many jewels on the community and give them a perspective of what's going on in the DMV. You know what I mean? Because that's what it is. That that's why it's so important for all of us to, like, you know, always be in tune and always be keeping each other informed, because you made a very good point earlier. It's a different situation. It's a different environment state by state. So the only way that people are going to get a pulse on what's going on nationally is by people understanding what's going on in each state individually, and then making basically like a rough assessment of everything, of, you know. And it's important to all of us from all different states to be, you know, giving voice to all the different platforms, so we can know, community can get a clear understanding of what's happening.
Man, you guys really hit the nail on the head from all fucking angles up here. And I love, like, I don't know really what cannabis culture is in New York without fucking the monkey. Like, there's a lot of things here that are cool, no question, but it's kind of, it just ain't the monkey. Like, all others are number 2 or lower.
That's why we like to, because, you know, like you said, like, you know, we're not making it about ourselves. It's about the community, the culture, and the corporate.
And being able to put that blueprint in any city, any country, any continent in the world. That's what I think is valuable, right? The Happy Monkey, you already said it's international, right? People come from all over the world have been to the monkey, right? You think that message doesn't get spread, that idea doesn't get spread? This is bigger than just fucking any business shit. This is about community. This is about a way to really bring us as cannabis users and people together.
Absolutely.
In a true community.
So now, till the next episode, we need you, Mr. Lord Bongtimore, to let everybody out in Happy Monkey World know how to find you or your outlets, and what should they expect for Lord Bongtimore in 2020.
Yes. Thank you. So expect a lot more content coming out, a lot of great podcast episodes with great people. You guys are kicking off some of my some of the next chapters for me. I got a lot of people out west because I think I've been selling myself short a little bit with just Maryland. And it's good to bring some culture from other places back to where we are to, again, be able to grow and help others expand their knowledge when they go to other places, right? And, you know, you can find me Instagram at Lord Bongtimore, like Baltimore, but Bongtimore. Twitter at Bongtimore, YouTube, the Weed Tube, Lord Bongtimore. LordBongtimore.com. There's a blog that I sometimes post to. My website's about to get revamped. You know, there's going to be a lot of cool shit. I'm working on some stuff with some dispensaries and some industry people who genuinely want to be able to give back. And I'm going to be taking some matters into my own hands and giving back to our community for real in 2020. So I'm not waiting for the state to do it.
Word.
You know. So thank you again so much for having me. I really appreciate you guys taking the time to let me
It's been
share.
an honor, brother. You just dropped some jewels, and you gave us a little window behind the corporate curtain and the culture corporate of the DMV, which helps us in the community a lot.
Absolutely, my friend. So everybody,
DC's going to be corporate as fuck. Just wait. I mean, look at who you got lobbying, guys like Coon. Pew, pew. Shots fired.
Oh man, it goes down on the boulevard. Everybody, once again.
Talking my shit. We're in New York.
Yeah, I know.
I'm
I know
on my
how it
bullshit.
Feels. I know how it feels. We know how it feels. But it goes down. You know what I mean? Everybody.
They're just feelings.
Yeah, everybody will get over it.
That is correct.
There you go, everybody. So thank you, everybody there, out there in the Happy Monkey world. Like my brother Vlad likes to say, it was a motherfucking pleasure with my man Lord Baltimore. Got Dave on the side. Shout out to my man Dave. You know what I mean? You know what I'm
Got
saying?
the curls for the girls.
There you
the
go.
girls,
My
you
nigga
know.
Ralph got the curls for the girls.
You know what I mean?
Shout out to the legendary videographer Rose, Jose,
Hey.
brand
Yes,
ambassador
yes,
extraordinaire,
Yes, sir. Yes,
and
sir.
everybody out there. Love, peace, and happiness. Thank you guys for always tuning in on the Boulevard. You never know what's gonna happen. So till the next episode, guys, remember you're too blessed to be stressed.
Yes. Hey.
Health, wealth, and happiness. Peace.
Peace.
What's good, everybody? This is your nigga Ralph, trying to keep you fresh with the info from Happy Monkey every single podcast. You already know what it is. If you haven't followed us yet, follow us on Instagram at HappyMunkey_ or Happy Monkey Goodies. Now remember, that's monkey with a U. Also, if you haven't checked us out, we're on YouTube. So check out our channel, Happy Monkey TV. Keep us current, live, and everything with the culture.